Notorious propaganda woke activist loser Neil Druckmann has completely destroyed The Last of Us Season 2. It is an objective failure. Currently, the reports are that the viewership has dropped by 55% already. And let me explain what that actually means, because it's way worse than it sounds. When the viewership drops by 50 plus percent, that is the equivalent, honestly, of it losing 99% of its audience. Because that means that the only people that are watching it are, one, hate watchers, people who are watching the show because how bad it is and just making fun of it constantly. And by the way, since season 2 started, there have been no positive voices in the community talking about the show. Everyone is just hate watching it and talking about how bad the show effectively is. Season 1 already was bad, obviously, but season 2 is just another level of cringe. People who are too obsessed with the show and are gonna probably between 42% themselves because obviously reasons. And the last category is probably the actual best category of people. It's just people who accidentally turn it on and leave it up because they don't really care, or people who started watching it but don't really want to leave it, but don't watch it actually. You know, those people who watch the show but can't even name the characters because they don't really care. Yeah, The Last of Us Season 2 is dead. And HBO already signed a contract for season 3. Yeah, it's it's bad. If you only we knew how bad things truly were.
Is anybody even still watching this TV show at this point? The Last of Us Season 2 is HBO's series that is crashing out massively right now. Everybody saw this coming. Fans saw this coming. Gamers even saw this coming. And Season 2 has officially announced that it has dropped a shocking 55% in viewership since the end of Season 1. And that is just the beginning.
You know what? You know what? Maybe Bella Ramsey was a pretty good choice.
In today's video, we're going to look at what went wrong, how Neil Druckmann ignored the fans yet again, and the parallels between this backlash and what happened when The Last of Us Part 2 came out as a video game, and why this show is ultimately destined to crash and burn with Season 3. So buckle up.
It is so hilarious, honestly, because Neil Druckmann already admitted that the choices with season 2, well, not season 2, but Last of Us Part 2, were a mistake, that Abby is absolutely a disgusting mistake of a mess. And now that he, for The Last of Us Season 2, found a different star, a one that actually looks way better, obviously, than Ellie herself. She actually looks like a female. 10 out of 10. The fact that we just can get the little things. It's insanity. It really is insanity, okay? He admits, because he took that choice for the actress, admits that he understood that it was a mistake. But no, he needs to still kind of like try and save his feeble, absolutely pitiful ego by still trying to ruin the series. It's just stupid.
This is going to be a good one about The Last of Us Season 2. So special shout out to all of you 88,800 legends that are subscribed to this channel right now, and the 50% of you that are not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe today. I would greatly appreciate it. So let's start with the numbers, right? Season 1, The Last of Us. What did that end with? That ended with around 8.2 million viewers tuning into the show. It's a show that, for the most part, even though people had its issues with episode 3 especially, it still had a pretty decent showing because people liked where the story was going overall. But here's the problem, and we all knew this was coming. Gamers especially knew this was coming. It was only a matter of time before the plot points in part 2 were going to come out, and everybody knew that season 2 was going to begin those plot points. And once they hit the TV screens, we all knew what was going to happen. Everybody was going to be highly upset, especially if they decided to do what they were going to do with Joel like they did in the video game. And that's exactly what happened. And they did it early, by the way. They ended up removing Joel from the story in episode number 2 of season 2, which is very, very early. So they didn't even bother waiting until the end in order to try to utilize Pedro Pascal as much as possible. They wanted to go for the shock factor right off the beginning, and now they're experiencing.
Imagine actually having a TV show where you get to say, oh yeah, Pedro Pascal is the best thing about it. Man, that's one sad show, ain't it? And it really is. And now that Pedro Pascal is no longer around, the fact that everyone except Neil Druckmann knew is happening, and it's the fact that Ellie cannot hold the show on her own because she is unlikable and she barely even looks human.
And see what happens when you do that. So again, the numbers for season 1 ended with around 8.2 million viewers coming in. At the end of season 2, it's down 55%, which means that's fewer than 4 million viewers came back for season 2. That is not just a dip, that is a hemorrhage, ladies and gentlemen. This show is literally bleeding out. HBO has seen declines like this before, but this is one of the worst year-over-year retention rates for a prestige show in the last decade. So let's get into why that is. Gamers again warned them back in 2020. The Last of Us Part 2 was met with massive backlash. Joel's death, the character of Abby, the forced narrative, the moral relativism, everything. Fans hated everything. The backlash wasn't just because fans were toxic, it was because the game spit in the face of what made the original beloved in the first place. But instead of
I remember when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, and I was thinking, I kind of see what he kind of was going for. Druckmann, that is, with Naughty Dog and whatnot. And I was like, well, if this was done differently, this could have been good. But as time progressed, I understood. Oh no, he didn't even try to make something good. The idiot actually just thought that doing something like this is smart. Oh boy, wow.
learning about
I can't wait for, by the way, Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet. It's gonna be great.
that, Druckmann doubled down. Fast forward to 2023, and now we have a live-action adaptation doing the exact same thing when The Last of Us initially aired. Neil Druckmann has positioned himself as the visionary behind The Last of Us, but vision means nothing without the execution to back it. He ignored feedback from millions of fans after the second game, he gaslit the audience by claiming they just didn't get it, and now he's doing the same thing to TV viewers. And while viewership plummets, Druckmann continues to boast about his artistic integrity, which ultimately is fine at the end of the day, but if nobody wants to see it, you only got yourself to blame. Now, season 2 has been a tonal mess. Bloated scenes, weak pacing, and a lack of Joel's emotional weight. Bella Ramsey is trying, but God knows she can't carry the show.
Trying. I mean, damn. She's trying to not eat scoops of dirt by the handful. That's what she's trying to do, okay? It's not looking good.
And without Pedro Pascal as the anchor, everything just feels hollow. The emotional resonance from season 1 is gone. The storytelling is now focused on checking boxes and pushing narratives.
The emotional resonance did not even exist in season 1, okay? It was dumb. Oh, what was it? The first episode, the second episode where they encountered the clicker or something like that? I don't remember. And it was, again, I tell this story so often because it's just so fucking stupid. So Joel and what's her face, the woman, go into a building, and Ellie's like, "Why am I going into a building? Why?" And they're like, and she's like, "What am I doing?" And they're like, and then she gets tired of fucking yapping constantly. Okay, and they were not in a rush. They could tell her what's a clicker, or that clickers are inside and how clickers kill you pretty easily if they hear sound. But they chose not to. Why? I don't fucking know. No one does. It's just stupid. And how the fuck does Ellie, someone who was born into the apocalypse, not know what a goddamn clicker is? Also questionable. But that's just the cheapness that we are going for here, right?
Rather than exploring characters. And viewers noticed, everybody noticed, right? The conversations on social media have gone from excitement to disappointment, from analysis to overall mockery. This show is a joke. It has always been this way. People are just finding out now more than ever. So let's talk about a couple of elephants in the room. Elephant number one obviously has to do with Bella Ramsey, right? Ellie. The character of Ellie in the TV show The Last of Us Season 2, quite frankly, even in Season 1, this
Can you imagine that this is supposed to be like 20 years old or something like that?
is a completely different Ellie from the Ellie we got in the game.
Also, she decided to be brave and shit and come out as non-binary. Yeah, and I'm not binary. That sounds really horrible when you try to say it out loud, huh?
She tries her very best, Bella Ramsey, but at the end of the day, she was just never a good cast for Ellie, and a lot of people on social media feel the exact same way. I think it's pretty clear that Bella Ramsey overall is a bad portrayal of Ellie. And then fast forward, and now you have season 2, where now they've introduced Abby, which is a character that everybody doesn't like. Like, they keep trying to push Abby onto people to try to make you like her, but at the end of the day, nobody likes Abby. From
You know what's the best part? You could probably make Abby super likable if you weren't stupid. Because let's be real, okay? Who the fuck likes Joel and her? No one. Abby could actually steal the show, but that's not happening because they're idiots.
From the moment they cast Abby from season 2 and confirmed her central role in season 3, the backlash began again, just like it did back when the video game released. Fans remember everything. They didn't forget the gym scene. They didn't forget Joel's death. They didn't forget being told that if they didn't like Abby, they were bigots. So ask yourself, what happens when season 3 drops and Abby is the main character? When Ellie is sidelined, or worse, made to look like the villain again? And are fans really going to stick around? Are they really going to stick around? Think about this for a second, okay? The Last of Us Season 3, we are not going to see for another 2 years. The Last of Us Season 3 is slated to release in 2027. If this show has experienced a decline of 55% in terms of viewership for its finale, do you really think that people are going to show up for Season 3? This is
No, obviously not.
exactly what I said before in my previous videos. They scored big at the end of season 1, and that viewership is what carried season 2 in its opener when it broke records in its opener for season 2. But look at the numbers now. This show might have broken its previous record for its opener for season 2, but that's because people were curious, right? That's because what happened to Joel didn't happen yet. The moment all of that happened, the viewership tanked. It tanked so bad that you went from setting records in a positive way to setting records in a negative way. 55% viewership drop, almost 60%, is abysmal, and anybody can look at that and sure, you're gonna have this show.
The best part is they signed season 3 before the drop happened because they thought that it's not going to happen. Okay? Neil Druckmann probably sold the lie to HBO that it's not going to happen. It's just a bunch of bigots and whatnot. It's just a bunch of bad people with hot lead body pillows. Yeah, that's it. And now HBO is like, we can't recover from this. We're dead. We're gonna burn money and there's nothing we get in return. Oh god.
Shows out there trying to tell you everything is fine, but it's not. This show is going to experience a massive.
Also, I mean, look at how he looks here, okay? And women are drooling over him. Okay, listen. I can tell if a guy is hot. And this is not it, Chief, okay? This is not it.
Drop off in season 3. Nobody is going to care about this show by the time it comes out in 2027. So again, this show is in a death spiral. It's already circling the drain. Between audience fatigue, backlash fatigue, and creative arrogance, it's only a matter of time before HBO cuts its losses. And let's be real, they've done it before, by the way. Westworld, Lovecraft County, Perry Mason, HBO has no issue canceling a show once
The Westworld was good and then season 2 happened.
the numbers don't make sense at all. And if you guys have been keeping up as what's happening over at HBO, I think you'll realize very quickly they don't exactly have the money to play around with anymore. If season 2 can't hold over 50% of its audience, what the hell is season 3 gonna do? Why would season 3, which is centered on a character that caused one of the biggest fan controversies in gaming, do any better than that? It didn't have to be like this though. Druckmann had a chance to tweak the story, of course, adapt it differently, give Joel more time, let the show breathe. But
Druckmann is 100% too ego-driven to ever admit any wrongdoings. Like, the world's gonna burn before Druckmann says that he did anything wrong.
But he didn't. Even the actors reportedly had concerns. Pedro Pascal's exit was timed a little too conveniently, and Bella Ramsey has shown hints of being overwhelmed by the pressure. If they had just told a new story, one inspired by the world of The Last of Us, instead of a strict retelling, they might have kept people invested, some people say. But at the end of the day, I feel like you have to respect the source material.
By the way, I hate this show. These are not even the real thing. This is... no one Googles this. No one Googles this.
Instead of a strict retelling, they might have kept people invested, some people say. But at the end of the day, I feel like you have to respect the source material. That's what people ask for. But the simple truth is that in this scenario, people didn't care about the source material. They didn't like the source material. And we all knew that this was going to end badly. We all knew that people who were going to watch this TV show who never played the video games were going to have a similar reaction. There were streams that I was on about a year ago where I was saying I cannot wait for people to find out about what happens to Joel, because then you're going to see what happened with the video games happen all over again. And that's exactly what's going on here. The Last of Us 1 was a lightning in a bottle. Season 1 captured that somewhat, but instead of building on the success, they repeated the same mistakes that nearly ruined the franchise in 2020. Druckmann didn't listen, HBO didn't pivot, and fans...
Druckmann's never listening, okay? But HBO is probably so mad, because they know there's no returning from this. 55% viewer drop is the same as 99% viewer drop. Because no one is left that's going to say anything good about the series. No one is left that actually cares about the series. And all the people that are actually left are people like me who are, well, I don't even watch the series at this point because I value my time and I know that this is going to be a disaster. Again, I got the episode 3 first season, and after that I called it quits because it was just stupid. It was just complete garbage. It's a dumpster fire, and everyone knows it. So yeah, this might as well be a 99% viewer drop. Because it's over. It's just over. There's no recovering from it, okay? Oh boy, that's hilarious. Anyway, that was Hypnotic.